fellow collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Deluxe Class Solus Prime from the brand new Transformers Age of the Primes line from Hasbro. As you can see here, nice streamlined packaging, the same as all the others. The plastic window is back. Have some nice artwork of the robot mode and the vehicle mode here on the front. Over on this side, we have a close-up of that artwork of the robot mode. Over here on this side, we have the circle of the statues of the Primes, like a segment of that. Over here on the back, we have some nice product shots of the robot mode and the vehicle mode. And of course, she comes with the hammer, since she works the forge, which I think is really neat. Down here on the bottom, not really much going on. Up here just says the 13 Solus Prime. So, of course, one of the 13 Primes. But yeah, I like the new streamlined packaging. Gonna go ahead and get her out of the box here, and we'll take a closer look. So here is Solus Prime out of the packaging, and I gotta say, this is a really cool figure. I really like this quite a bit. I don't really have too much familiarity with the character, because I didn't really read those comics, but I just think this is a really super cool deluxe. I mean, first off, the color scheme is awesome. You have this deep purple with the gold. Those colors always look great together. Then you have a little bit of kind of like a metallic gray, not quite like gunmetal gray, but not quite silver, kind of somewhere in between. But really nice metallic paint here on like the thighs and the midsection here. And even the gray plastic that they use for the joints, I feel like matches really well. And it's just really, really neat. Doesn't even really have much of a backpack. And it compresses really nice and tight to the body. Doesn't really get in the way of articulation all that much. Just a really solid figure. The head sculpt is amazing. I love this. The green eyes really pop with the purple. You have some nice silver paint there for the face. A little bit of gold there for the head crest. All of that molded detail is really nice. Head's on a ball joint, so it can turn side to side, no problem. You can look up, can look down. If you utilize kind of the hinge that lets her transform, you can look up even further. But if you're even not utilizing that, like if I try to get that to stay, unfortunately it doesn't really lock into place. But if I keep that down, still can look up a considerable amount, which is nice. So really nice range of motion there. The shoulder pads are kind of their own thing, so you can kind of move them out of the way however you'd like. You can get the full rotation there in the shoulder. Hinge goes all the way out to the side. If you kind of get this out of the way, you can lift that up. Got a bicep swivel, 90 degrees there in the elbow. Hands on a ball joint, so you can spin that around, bring it in a little bit, whatever you want to do. Nice range of motion there. You do have a waist joint. Nothing really gets in the way. You can spin that all around. Of course, she does have this kind of massive front skirt piece. But again, really nicely detailed, really nicely painted. If you move that out of the way, you can see that the hips are in here with some mushroom pegs. You can kick really far forward. Even pretty far back. The backpack doesn't really get in the way. Kick out to the side, no problem there. You got a thigh swivel. You got 90 degrees in the knee. And then you have a spin here at the ankle because of transformation, but then a little bit lower than that, you have ankle tilt. So, and pretty crazy ankle tilt. I would say it's over 90 degrees. So yeah, just really nice range of motion. The details there, the paint applications, the color scheme, all of it. I really like this figure a lot. Accessory-wise, of course, she has the hammer, which is just as nicely detailed and painted. Nice gold there. Now, it does come in 3 pieces, so you can take this off and take this off. And really, you have to take this apart so that she can hold it. So you just slide this through the hand here from the bottom, and then pop this part back on. They show her holding this part. I don't know if it's supposed to be like a little bomb or something. I'm not really quite sure what this is supposed to be, but if I'm being honest, it kind of looks like a little fire hydrant. At least that's what it looks like to me. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but you can also just go ahead and pop this onto the end of the hammer just to give it a little bit more color as well. But yeah, overall the hammer looks great. And then what I really like about the hammer, if we go ahead and remove this from her hand, you can actually pop this little piece out. I think I push this in, and this little peg will flip out. And then you can go ahead and attach it here on the back so that it looks like she has the hammer over the shoulder. I love that. I love when they have the weapons on their back in kind of a natural pose that someone who has a weapon on their back would have so they could access it. Like you could reach up Now, obviously, she can't grab a hold of this part of it, but you could make it look like, especially with the hand articulation, she's actually reaching up to grab a hold of that, which I think is great. I love that. That's something I really wish they could have done with Prima Prime's sword, and they didn't. Speaking of Prima Prime, let's go ahead and bring him in. The 2 primes that I have so far from this line. Still trying to track down the leaders, so I still need Megatronus. But yeah, you can see obviously quite a size discrepancy, as one is a Deluxe and one is a Voyager, but yeah, they look good. I like this. I like that we're getting these new, not necessarily new characters, but these figures of characters we've never really gotten before. And they're doing a great job with them so far. I'm very excited for Megatronus. I think he's going to be really cool. But see, he needs something on the back so that he could have the sword diagonally. And just don't have that. But yeah, I love the look of that with the axe. Or I'm sorry, I keep calling it the axe. The hammer on the back there, which I think is really cool. So I appreciate that. But yeah, overall, robot mode is great. A lot of detail, a lot of paint, a lot of articulation. Really not a lot of kibble. You have the wheels on the back, but that's fine. They don't really get in the way of anything. The giant front skirt's a little weird. Especially since you don't really need it for anything in vehicle mode, honestly. But it looks good. I'll give it that. Speaking of transformation, it's way more complicated than you'd think. So let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so the transformation is surprisingly intricate for such a small figure. It's actually really, really neat. We're going to start off by coming to the backpack here and kind of just bringing this down and as far back as you can. It's a little tight, but you need to be able to flip out this panel here, and you can just kind of graze past these 2 pegs. You can see that there's kind of like an indent. See right there and right there. And then that's so that, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but there's a peg right there and a peg right there that it can just graze past. And then there's also just enough room to get the head to rotate back. It's a little tight, but you can get the head back into that cavity, and then you're good to go. Then you're going to come here to this front skirt. You're going to flip up these 2 pieces. You're going to rotate this piece here on the mushroom peg so that it can go past like this, and then rotate it back. And then it just kind of sits like that. You're going to come to the legs, spin her around. You're going to take these wheels on the back of the legs, flip them out. If you have them ankle tilted at all, make sure that that's straight. And then you're going to bring the heel back, and there's just enough space. It's kind of contoured perfectly to rotate back, and then you can close the wheel up. So do the same thing over here. Straighten out the leg or the ankle. Bring this back, and then close this up. And then you are going to rotate at that extra ankle piece so that the wheels are facing out. Then what you're going to do, there's a tab right here, and that eventually is going to peg in there, utilizing this and this like kind of double knee joint thing. You can also see that there's kind of like a little beveled space, and that is for this kind of hinge area right here. So we're going to bend this once, and then we're going to bend it again. Now it's sometimes a little difficult to line up, and you want to kind of make sure this is out of the way. But yeah, there we go. It's a little bit, it gets a little bit easier every time. I don't know why. Sometimes it's just a little difficult to line it up because how everything kind of rotates around. But eventually you can find the space, and then there you go. That is pegged in. And then you're going to push these together here. You can see that there's a little tab right there. So we will join these together like so. Then we are going to rotate the entire waist 180 degrees, like so. Then we come to the arms. We have these nice little panels that kind of cover up the empty space on the forearm. They are going to rotate down and around. Now you might have some difficulty getting them to go kind of past this stage, and it's really just because the way they're connected. They're just, you know, those tiny little like tabs that just kind of pop onto a piece so that they're made to pop off if they need to, like, so there's no stress. So just kind of make sure that everything's kind of straight. Like if you kind of lean it to one side, it might have difficulty, but they will go around. Then you can rotate the fist into that empty cavity, like so. Do the same thing over here. Flip this part around. And then rotate the fist into the forearm. You're going to kind of bring the shoulder pads up. This little piece here that has the gold painted on it, this little panel, will actually slide around. And this will be used to cover up a little spot in the vehicle mode. Then you have to bring this forward with this kind of like butterfly-like joint. So again, get the shoulder pad out of the way, flip this panel around, and then bring in the shoulder pad with that butterfly joint. Now, once you have these down, that will give this section enough clearance to push down all the way where it's supposed to be. If you try to push this down before you pull the shoulders out, it will not be able to clear, because as you can see, if I push this back up, when the shoulder is in here, it hits it, and so it won't be able to come down. So you have to make sure that you pop those shoulders out, and then this will come down and then contour to where it's supposed to go, because you can see how it kind of covers the hole that the shoulder would go back into. So you have to make sure you do that first. Next, and this is actually kind of cool, so you have this gray block here. You're going to utilize all those hinges in the shoulder pad to get this whole section to go around, and it has to cover this gray block. Now, when you look at the shoulder pads here, there's kind of this first little hollow section, and then there's the purple bar. You need to make that gray block go into this section where my finger is, right here. So you can't try to push it into this one. It's got to go there. So you got to kind of utilize all of those joints from the shoulder pad to make sure that this gets all the way around and into the right section. And then once you do that, you can spin at that kind of bicep swivel right above the elbow. This will tab into the side here. There's actually a tiny little slot you can see right there that this tab will peg into right here. And then once you have that, there's a little notch right here on the thigh. And there's the tiniest little tab on the forearm that this will come up and kind of hit into the notch. And then you can see there's a tab here and a spot right there. So once you have this up where it goes, you can see that just kind of naturally flipped it on there, and then push that on. And that will really connect it nice and snugly. This connection right here really makes that nice and snug. So we're going to do this again on the other side. We're going to bring this around, utilizing all those joints, get that to go over. Then we are going to rotate like that. Bring this up. Pop this into... This is what I'm saying. There's like a tab there, and it kind of pops into that little notch. And then this comes up and pegs in there. And there we go. That's in. I think that's in. There we go. And that really secures that up. And there is Solus Prime in vehicle mode. So I gotta say, this is a really neat little vehicle mode. Like I said, it's very intricate transformation, but what you're left with is actually really, really cool. Again, I love all of the gold on the purple. I think that looks really sharp. You can see a little bit of gold here. The gold for the windows looks great. And this little bit here just kind of gives it like a little bit of texture, a little bit of interestingness to the vehicle mode. You could probably leave that section. I mean, it would be difficult, like, for these sections to kind of fit in between the knee pads there. If you wanted to leave it solid like her skirt, it would just rest on top, and there'd probably be a little bit of a gap, but there's kind of a gap in here now, so it's up to you, whatever you prefer. But it's a really neat little vehicle mode. Not too much, like, in terms of the robot mode being underneath. You can see the arms and the chest a little bit, but the legs compact pretty nicely. Rolls pretty well. And just a very interesting design. You have the hammer, of course. There is a kind of oval, well, I guess that is kind of rectangular peg there. But that will peg in right here. So we just pop that on there. And then the whole hammer can just kind of rest there on the side. Or if you really want, you can utilize where you pegged it in the robot mode by popping this section out again. And then you could pop this on here if you wanted it to look like she had a cannon on the front or something like that. Or of course you have these spots here on the side as well. So you could do that. The wheels might get in the way, so you might have some trouble with that, but you do have those options. I think pegging it in just there on the side looks the coolest, so that's what I usually do. If I can line this up again. There we go. Yeah, just kind of fits there nicely. Like, you could still pretend it's a gun, but it almost kind of like perfectly aligns. Just works out really well. So yeah, I like this a lot. Very cool little vehicle mode here. I really like this figure a lot. I love the color scheme. I love the articulation. The head sculpt is great. I really like that pop of green for the eyes. Just looks fantastic with the rest of the color scheme. Really makes the head stand out. I love the accessories. Transformation's really interesting. It can be a little difficult the first 1 or 2 times you do it. It's very intricate, but I just think it's a lot of really cool engineering to make this work, and I love the vehicle mode that you're left with. I think that looks really cool as well. So yeah, definitely this is one to check out. I think this is probably one of my favorites so far. Just a really cool figure of a character that I don't have too much exposure to, but am really happy to kind of get this figure and start to learn a little bit more about the 13. And yeah, just a really cool addition for the collection. I really like this figure a lot. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.